part of Robert O'Brien in a play called The Elocution of Benjamin Franklin. And Gordon took the biggest gamble in his career, and the rest is now history. He's collected a host of awards both here and overseas, rave reviews overseas, for his brilliant portrayal of the homosexual transvestite speech therapist whose sex life is mainly a fantasy affair. Gordon now lives and successfully works in New York. He's back in Australia. He's going to be one of the stars of a play. He plays Sir in the new play, The Dresser, with our old friend Warren Mitchell. And he's here with us tonight. He's just arrived in Australia. I think it's only a couple of days he's been here. And happy I am to have him here. Really talented man. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello, Mr. Gordon Chater. You got it. Yeah. That's yeah, I just realized that you would have been away and not known about that song. That's a Peter Allen song called I Still Call Australia Home, which has become a very popular number. Yeah. And you know, we're playing that for you because I think that's what you think, you know.
Yeah, I do. It's
Is
my
it
home.
Nice to be back?
Oh, yes, it's fascinating. I mean, it's as though I haven't been away. Yeah. Very moving because you get into a cab and the man at the cabbie says, "G'day, Charlie," like, you know, I was there yesterday.
Right, yeah.
And Sydney is breathtaking, so is Melbourne, what I saw of it this afternoon. So much development, you can't believe it's all happened in 3.5 years.
Yeah, that's right, too. It's hard to believe it's been 3.5 years. I mean, it seems like 2 minutes ago you were
Well, I don't know, life is very full and very lucky. I'm very blessed, and it goes so quickly.
You're a little full at the moment.
Yes.
How much weight have you put on here?
I put on about 50 pounds. Sorry about that.
Obviously, obviously not on purpose. You've done that with living in the States or living in New York.
Yes, well, I suppose, I don't know, I find it very difficult to take off weight. I tried that Scarsdale Memorial Diet, you know, the one where the man was killed. And
no, what was it? What do you mean?
You know, the famous Scarsdale diet, the Dr. Turner who was murdered.
Oh, right, yes.
And
yes,
so I call it the Scarsdale Memorial Diet. And I took 31 pounds off. But then I had a bust on, you know, Haagen-Dazs ice cream.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you know that. So, it's you know, it is some ice cream, and so it all came back again.
If you like it, yeah.
Yes, yeah. And I'm getting old now. It doesn't matter. I mean, I'm fat and jolly.
Did you expect to have this sort of success off The Elocution of Benjamin Franklin?
No, I thought the play, I really believed when I read the play, that the play would go all around the world because it was a unique and brilliantly written play, albeit written by a 24-year-old Australian. I knew that it had to move a huge audience all over the world, but I didn't know that I was going with it because when the Americans bought it, they bought it for an international star, and it was handed to a lot of stars who didn't really want to learn you know, all those words and everything and gamble on it when a movie would come up. They didn't want to be tied down when there's the big money in movies. Yeah. So I was lucky. I think I got the role overseas. Well, there were two reasons. That was one reason. Also, I must give credit to Hal Prince and Stephen Sondheim, who saw me play it in Sydney and called New York and said, "Look, you're looking for an international star, but this guy has created it. You must take him over." And I think that's part of the story, too.
You must, I would have never thought that, I never called you Charlie. I always called you Gordon, so I have to say Gordon. But I never expected you to settle in like New York. I always thought of Gordon Chater as someone who would sweep London or live in Hollywood or something. But why have you chosen New York?
Well, I've always loved New York. Before, when I was a young man, when I was about 14 years old, on vacation from school in England, and my father said, "Now go and get a job." This was 1936. And I got a job as a cabin boy on the Mauritania and got to New York. And it was the first time I'd seen it in reality. I'd seen it in movies. And I think it has to be one of the most exciting cities in the world, especially if you're interested in the theater, movies, show business, television, and all those things. It's kind of now the creative hub of it all. And that fantasy has always gone on with me. Then, after World War II, I was privileged and lucky to become an Australian here and became an actor. And still, when I had the chance to have a vacation, I would always go, if I could afford it, go to New York to see the theatre, and see the theatre in London to, you know, measure one's standards and keep up to date. And never thinking that I would ever be allowed to work there. One had this fantasy, and it's the elocution of Benjamin Franklin that made it possible, because the process of getting a green card, allowing an actor to, a foreign actor to work there, is really horrendous in hindsight. But the producers that took me over to America asked me if they minded if they applied for a green card, because they thought the play was going to run much longer than it did in New York, and they didn't want to replace me. They wanted me to do it. And I said, "You think you can get me a green card? Because I'd love to work in America."
It's a very difficult thing for Australia.
Oh, it's very difficult indeed. And, after a long process of going to the Federal Plaza and the Department of Immigration and going through endless examinations, and then they do a process of going around the world to see if you have a record, and you have a health thing, and you have to fill in forms like this, and you wait and wait and wait, and finally the wonderful moment came when I have the green card, and I have every privilege of an American citizen, except that I can't vote and I can't become the president, which is a pity because they need me.
What about New York? Does it worry you? I mean, everybody talks about New York, how scary it is sometimes.
Well, I think, you see, you have to think of the whole population of Australia in one city, which is what New York is. And so it's very crowded, and it's relative. I don't know what the statistics are, but when you ask that question, I think, supposing you added up every assault and every crime that happens in Australia in a day and put it all into one city, I think maybe it's relative and would probably be the same as New York. Of course one's cautious, and of course the most horrendous things happen. I don't go on the subway late at night unless it's between 42nd Street and 96, where I get off on the Express, where I live, but I wouldn't go much further afield. I don't think I'd go to Brooklyn, certainly not the Bronx, or to Pashy.
Yes.
I wouldn't do that. You are aware, I mean, there are horrendous things that happen in the street. In Times Square during daylight, people are stabbed. This happens. On the other hand, you can be killed crossing Castlereagh Street by a car if you're not looking, you know, if you're not cautious. But people don't think about it. There is a great deal of security. I think subconsciously one...
Do you run into weird people?
Oh, it's full of bizarre people.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, one day I was rushing down 8th Avenue, which, you know, is slightly seedy.
Yeah.
And I was rushing down 8th Avenue to get to 46th Street to go to dinner. And I was late. And I got to the intersection of 46th and 8th Avenue, and the lights were wrong, so I had to wait there. And while I'm waiting, agitating, dying to get across, this beautiful girl comes up to me with a baby and says, "Would you like to buy my baby?" She was serious. No, she was serious. And I said, because not thinking, well, I really can't do it now, I'm sorry. But, and then I thought afterwards, maybe, you know, maybe she wanted to sell her baby for money for drugs. I
Or
mean,
something
it's
like that.
something
Yeah.
horrendous.
Yeah. What about old friends? You're going to hook up with old friends. I know Gwenny Plum from The Young Doctors.
Oh, yes, we've spoken on the telephone.
Barry
and
Creighton.
Barry Creighton, yes, I'm in Barry Creighton's apartment. He's in Melbourne now,
Ah.
and he's making a movie soon. Yes, I'm in his apartment in Sydney. Oh, yes, I've been on the phone non-stop when I haven't been, you know, yakking away on the talk shows.
Do you know Warren Mitchell from another time?
Well, no, I've never met him, but I think this is very exciting that I'm working with him, because I don't know whether Australia knows that he got every conceivable award in England for playing American Willie Loman in Death of a Salesman at the National Theatre. And just before I left New York, he's had, oh, such acclaim in the press for his Shylock in television's Merchant of Venice, made by the BBC. And, of course, his King Lear here, Alf Garnett, and now he's going to play another role that is so fantastically different. I think it's just wonderful to be working with him, and Ruth Cracknell, and a cast of 8 of us altogether.
Two very talented guys. You
And it is a stunning play. I never thought I would have a role in a play of the quality of The Elocution of Benjamin again, but I have to say that Ronald Harwood's play, although it has no controversy, no deviation, no messages, and no swear words in it, but it is a play as riveting.
And in spite of all those setbacks, it's going to be a hit, right?
Well, I don't know. You never know that, but unfortunately, I mean, I just hope that what happened with Benjamin won't happen with this, which is we played Benjamin with all those notices in Australia, and even since I've been back, every other person says, Oh, I'm so sorry. You know, I tried to see it, but of course we left it till the last moment and couldn't get in. Well, this time we have 6 weeks in here, 6 weeks in Sydney, 6 weeks in Melbourne.
Well, here's your date. You open in Sydney on May 22nd for
That's
6
right.
weeks, and then the Comedy Theatre down here in Melbourne on July 7th. Charlie,
Charlie.
it's good to have you back.
Thank
It's
you so
really
much,
lovely.
Tom.
I'm sorry. It's
Thank
better
you.
for us, really.
Thank
God be saying, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in